Woo! Canadian wine lovers, we're live. It's Wine Wednesday, and it is time to chat Canadian wine. If you like Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, or Gamay, this is the show for you because we're talking Thomas Bachelder, the master at all those and more. So stay tuned.
Woo-hoo.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, everyone across the country from Halifax to Victoria, welcome, welcome. It is Wine Wednesday. It's 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Everyone, it's time to pop a bottle of Canadian wine. Sit back, relax, and enjoy because we have a heck of a show. Mira Boucher, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday. Amazing.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
As usual. To share
I thought you might like that. I thought you might like that. And you know, it's Wednesday. What's best to have 6 different wines in front of you? And when you know that it's Thomas Bachelder week, it's the long time awaited 2023 release from Thomas Bachelder, and we are here some of the very highest rated wines in the country from the master himself. I can't wait to share that with you guys because we opened these wines when we came back from Toronto, and we've been sipping on these for what now, 6 days?
Yes.
Kinda.
They are fantastic. Mike, the average wine enthusiast on YouTube. Great show on YouTube, you guys. If you follow things on YouTube, Mike's on. He's saying, good evening, Canadian wine lovers. And one of the best lives of the year because we're talking Bachelder and reminiscing about some of the most epic wine tastings we've ever had in Canada.
I mean, and also the average wine enthusiast was with us for one of those epic tasting that we had at the Bat Cave. I mean, no one can put together a tasting like Thomas Bachelder does. We'll also review probably our Winery of the Year vineyard tour that we did last year. Yeah, there you go.
That's Mike right behind Carl, right there. Yeah.
That is, there you go. There you go. I think Mira just pulled some older picture of when I had my first fix of Thomas Bachelder. I can't wait to reminisce to get back to these pictures. They're just so cool. But yeah, we have the 2023 release here. I mean, the national press absolutely lost their minds on their score on Bachelder 2023. Thomas released, like every year, La Toussaint release, where is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. This year, the largest release ever for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. 23 different wines were released only for these 2 great varietals. If you add to that Thomas also makes 9 Gamays, so that's mean it's 32 wines that he has. Gamay, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. Okay, well, there's 1 Pinot Blanc in all of that, the first ever, because also Pinot Blanc is allowed to be made in Burgundy. So, Burgundy Beaujolais.
Burgundy, I mean, we were recently there. We're taking members there next June. We opened a bottle of Bachelder at the DRC wall, symbolically there as our pilgrimage site for you know, other pilgrims were there who are clearly crazy wine lovers.
I had one of
Burgundy, Thomas is there right now, isn't he?
He is there. He is there. That's why he cannot join us tonight live. It's currently 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. In France, like 2 a.m. So no, Thomas is sleeping right now. And you know what? He was offering to do a recording or whatever, and say, you know what? We have enough to talk about. So, Thomas, I'm sure that Thomas is going to listen to the show when he wakes up in the morning or something. But yeah, the 2023 release was so. I couldn't wait to taste these wines, and I was lucky enough to taste the 23s a little before everyone else. The national press all met on November 1st, where Thomas did his official national release, and he had all of the press sitting there, and they tasted all of these wines. I was lucky enough, Mira and I were lucky enough to taste these wines at the end of August. When we traveled to Ontario, we had a Winery of the Year celebration at Leaning Post, and the day of, Thomas said, how about you come to the Bat Cave for a small little tasting with me? I would like you to taste my 23s before I release them. And maybe we can share tasting notes and all that. And I'm telling Mira, I told Mira the idea, and she's like, a small, short tasting? What are you talking about? You know that it's never... Like, I mean, you and Thomas at the Bat Cave, you think that you can do that for an hour and a half, but my plan was to be there for an hour and a half. And everyone that I told that, everyone, 100% of the people started to laugh, and no one took me seriously. And obviously, it didn't go as planned.
You can't do a tasting at the Bat Cave. Actually, you can. So here's the crazy thing. And I think Mike was there. Daryl, I don't know, were you there? When we did the Bat Cave in 45 minutes, because we literally had to go catch a flight, but we tasted 28 wines in 45 minutes. So you just have to be a little more disciplined, Carl. Jeez.
Mira, I would like to remind you that it was not 45 minutes. I thought it felt like 45 minutes, but it was literally an hour and a half.
When we did that one, when we were on the way to the airport?
On the way to the airport with Mike LaPlante and Richard De Silva.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. It felt like 45 minutes because usually it takes way longer, but it was not. But good try, though. Good try. No, the 23 vintage was a very, very good vintage in Niagara. Thank you to a very long and dry fall that saved the vintage that year. There was an up and down summer with some heat spike, some continuous rain at some point, at many different points of the growing season. But as we know, and the winemaker and my good friend Richard De Silva always tell me, it doesn't fucking matters what's happening during the summer. What counts? It's the fall. That's after Verizon, and September, early October are the most critical part of the growing season. And that's the perfect example of 2023. Have a gorgeous, gorgeous fall, perfect for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And yeah, not only it saved the vintage, it also elevated the rating of the vintage across the board. There's a little bit of inconsistency in terms of which grape varietals shined that year. I don't think that Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot had as much potential as Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but definitely 23 was a very, very good, I would say an exceptional vintage for Pinot and Chardonnay. And that's what we're talking about today. Out of 32 wines that Thomas has produced from the 2023 vintage, I had to select that. I had to pick and choose. We couldn't feature all of those. And that was probably the hardest part of all of the equation, of all of the process, was to select.
And why is that? I'll tell you two reasons. One was that they're actually running low on some of them. So that tells you that even the ones we've got featured now, some of them are like 70, 80 cases, 110 cases made. They were released 2 weeks ago. Some of them are already running so low that they're like, we're scared to put them in this offer with Carl's Wine Club because we're not sure if there's even like a couple cases left. And they are not at the warehouse this week. They're in Burgundy. So So that's one thing. And the
That
other
was a
thing is
logistical issue that we had to navigate in order to put that together this week, right, Mira? So yeah, the selection was, but there was a few SKUs for me that I highlighted in August. There was a few wines that I was really hoping to be able to feature. My two highest one was the Old Eastern Bloc Pinot Noir, and yes, my classic over the years, my favorite parcel from Thomas Bachelder. If you've been following us here on the live tonight, then you know a little bit about our preference here. I think you can even put it in the comments. I think you guys know which one I'm talking about. He has been featured in my top 10 wine of the year in the previous year. I've rated that wine 96 points before as well on the 2019 vintage. This wine consistently rate one of my very, very top wine of the year, and it's the Wismar Foxcroft Parcel Nord. And 2023 was one of the one that I put an asterisk beside it. That was my very favorite. And on the Pinot, the Old Eastern Bloc absolutely stood out to me. There was also the Wismar Park, the Wild West Hand. These two that, I mean, it's hard for me to ignore these two wine, Wild West Hand and Wismar Park, because of the experience we had back last year, right? Last summer when we stood right there on the little dirt road between Ank and Wismar Park. Go ahead, Mira.
Exactly. Was it last summer? It feels like, so not this past summer, not in 2025, but in 2024, right?
Exactly. That was our adventure in the vineyard with Thomas. And that, right on that dirt road, behind us, it's Wismar Park. Behind the people, like, who's bought the, like, the other side of the road, it's Hank. Hank was not available this year. There was very too little produced. I couldn't get my hand on the Hank. But I'm happy because if you look at those scores, Wismar Park, I think I flipped them this year, 2024, 2023.
94 plus, and then the Wild West End 94 this year.
Yeah, so I think these are two are flipped, and the Old Eastern Bloc was the Pinot that I had a big asterisk on my tasting in August with Thomas, where I rated it 95 points. I mean, this wine is so elegant and has so much complexity, and it's, I don't know, just a unique parcel of wine. And I'm so happy. And I told Thomas in the summer, I said, please put a couple cases, like 4 or 5 cases aside for us. I don't want to miss out on that wine. And he did. So here we are. So we were able to be.
That said, if there's one that you're like, I really want to try this one, it's not on Carl's list to order, we can always add that for you. If it's just like, I need a couple bottles of it to see or whatever. So that's one of the reasons we limited how many of Thomas's wines that Carl did tasting notes for. Not to mention that Carl sees a tasting note of Thomas's wine. It's not like any other tasting note. It takes him like 5 times as long because he revisits the wine. It's like poetry. Like it's like a totally different thing writing a tasting note for Thomas's wine. He analyzes it 10 different ways. But the other piece is, who was there and can remember this part of, look at this. Where is it? When we're at the Bat Cave, we're trying to buy the wines. There's so many of them that you get confused. You get a little bit confused. You guys remember this?
Oh, so, yeah. Oh my God, that was. I
so
would
it's
say,
also kind of like, we can't have a list of 28 wines. It starts to get kind of crazy for us. Can you imagine what it must be like for Thomas? But probably not, though, because he treats them like his children, so he doesn't forget. He doesn't get.
Yeah, but I don't think that Thomas packs the wine anyway. So yeah, that's different. And that's maybe why the boxes are not set from east to west as well. And hey, keep in mind, there's 32 released this year only on the 2023 vintage, and there's like vintages back all the way back to 2018 in that little warehouse. So yeah, you can imagine how many SKUs and how many.
We didn't want to like say, okay, we got the 2023s and the 2022s, but only these ones and these ones. Like, it's just, you've got 12 wines from 2023. And if there's any other ones that you're like, I really want to add this to my pack, we can definitely do that. Just shoot us a note. But
we can't promise it. We will definitely request it for you, and we'll see how it goes. Right? I think it's the best way we can go about it.
But there is enough there that you get Carl's top picks, some of the highest rated 3-packs I've ever seen, like in Carl's Wine Club and beyond, like 3 Chardonnays, 94, 95, 96 points. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's right. Mike's talking about the barrels stored east to west at the Bat Cave. And Scott is on. It's nice to see you, Scott. Daryl, I want to mention, is having Terra Juno Reserva 2011 from Toto, Spain in the glass. Any ideas on what that is, Carl? A red, a white? What is that?
Toto. Oh, that's a red.
Okay.
Terra Unico. Okay. Yeah. So we got this Spanish wine here. Cool. Not so much on the elegant style. I think it's more on the big and bold and juicy. Yeah, I like that. Really like that, Daryl.
Nice. So, what? Yes. So logistically, and to not get everyone super confused, it's 12 wines that we're featuring and some of Carl's highest rated. So we've got the Gamays, which we'll talk about a little later, because there's a super interesting side-by-side for Gamay lovers with that. Destemmed versus...
Yeah, so we did the Gamay tasting live, I think 3 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we did it live.
Yes.
So the 2 Wismar Foxcroft were my 2 highest rated, and the Bachelder as well was like so incredibly elegant and beautiful. So that's our 3 packs of Gamay.
And it's the last vintage. So we're going to share some interesting news from Thomas. But first, let's talk about the story. Let's talk about how the interesting news being that we'll get into it more, but you're probably going to see less wines from Thomas rather than more. And there's a really good reason for that. But yeah, let's just reminisce for a second, Carl.
Let's go back in time.
Because let me tell you, this was Carl's reaction the first time he met Thomas Bachelder in person. And I think you got your first taste of Bachelder with the 2018 vintages.
Yeah, so just to get back, okay, so I knew Thomas from reputation, and I reached out to him a couple times, could never meet in person. So one of our trip to Niagara, I sent him a note and said, hey, we're going to be in the region. Would you be available to meet? And he said, no, sorry, we're leaving for Italy. The day that you're arriving or the day after, so sorry, we won't be able to meet. Okay, so a couple days later, just before we fly out, he sent me a note. He said, hey, you know what? The day we were arriving, and he said, you know what? I just had a tasting with a bunch of journalists from Montreal. I have a few bottles open, and if you wouldn't mind to swing by the Bat Cave before 9 p.m., I would be more than happy to meet you in person and give you these bottles for you to taste what we're doing. So
this is what he meant by a few. All right.
There was not 1 case, there was 2 cases, and there was only 2 open spots in the second case. So if you count 2 cases of wine, it's 24 bottles minus 2, that was 22 wines. For me, when someone tells me I have a few bottles for you to taste, I mean, all the way up to that 2022 meetings, it was like, okay, maybe you have 3 or 4 bottles. If lucky, if not, we might have 2, right? So,
Mike, you're right. We look like kids. First of all, because I don't know what happened the last 3 or 4 years, but we all got older. We got more gray hairs. But
I don't fucking know what happened, but something
also,
happened.
It's like that's what having 22 bottles of Bachelor does to you. You look younger. You look more energized. You look more excited. And check out Carl's reaction. Okay. After we spoke with Thomas, this was him getting in the car.
Well, first, before you put that, Mira, what is okay? Now, before you put that, so we were supposed to just swing by the back cave. Okay, we were supposed to be there much earlier. Our flight got delayed. There was a man on our day of traveling. We got to the bat cave at 8:30 at night, and when Thomas was flying out that night, we had like 10 minutes. No, we didn't, because Thomas took the time to give us a tour of the Bat Cave, all the barrels, showing us the map. And he was keep apologizing. So I'm like, so sorry, we need to go. Sorry, I have to go. But he kept going and putting wines in our glass. It was absolutely crazy. It was the first time we met him, right?
Yeah, so then he gets in the car and he's like, say that again.
The fuck just happened? I'm dreaming. No, it didn't happen.
So cool.
It didn't happen. Holy shit. Wow. A dream.
That was his reaction. And I am going to get you just a little bit from Thomas that first time, because it was interesting actually to see what the timing was, but he was just releasing the 2022 Toussaint release. This is the he was releasing
no. He was releasing he was releasing the 2020 because after that we had a chat when I tasted all of the 20s, and I was telling him how I preferred the 2019 despite the fact that 2020 was deemed at the vintage of the century. And that's where we really connected. Like there was an early morning phone call, and he said, "Thank you. Holy shit." He said, "Now that's how I know I can trust you, because you know what you're talking about." Like, anyway, so like to me, that was so clear that the 2019 Chard and Pinot Noir, or Chardot and Pinot Noir, like Thomas like to say, were so much more structured and more aging potential, and have a more defined flavors from the 2019 than the 2020 vintage. 2020 was such a big, hot vintage. Better for Cab Sauv, Sauvignon, Cab Sauv, Merlot, Syrah, and all of the big reds. And that's how I think that Thomas was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So that's where our relationship really took off and took the right side.
Just in a nutshell, what is Thomas up to, really? He is mapping. This is his map, right? His famous map. We took a picture with it at the group tasting we did. But he is mapping Niagara's terroir in a Burgundian fashion, like really listening to every single vineyard, every single block of every vineyard. And when he sees like, okay, these two rows are like different, in the barrel, I'm going to bottle them differently for a few years and see what happens. And he's been doing that now for 10 years in Niagara?
Oh, more than that. He started in 2008. So now we're 2018, like we're 15, like so we're 17 years now, right?
And the cool thing about Thomas that is so different than any other winemaker I know of is he's made wines at a high level in Niagara, but also at the same time in Burgundy and at the same time in Oregon. And he did that for quite a number of vintages before settling on Niagara as the place he wanted to spend the rest of his career working on. So,
and I would like to remind everybody why Thomas decided to come back to Niagara, not to Oregon, because he was living in Oregon. So it was much easier for him to stay where he was. His daughters were there. They were starting to go to school and all that. And I mean, his alma mater, his love was in Burgundy. Why did Thomas came back to Niagara to keep going what he was doing? It's because he said, I couldn't keep my wine from Niagara. And I couldn't keep enough of those wines. These wines were selling more than the Oregon wine and the Burgundy wines. So that told him that, hey, that's what people want. And you know what? I think that's how we know Thomas Bachelder. And the decision was made that he will keep pursuing his dream by mapping Niagara from west to east and to define the terroir of Niagara. And we have to thank them because now there's a movement of winemaker who are pursuing what Thomas have started and doing the exact same thing, purchasing grapes from small little specific plot across Niagara and building some micro production all over Niagara. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about Kern & Co. is what Adam Kern is doing also. And there's other, like Kevin Penagatka is doing that with 2027 Cellars. And there's Kelly Mason likes to do that as well. I mean, there's so many more now than it was before. And Thomas was the pioneer in doing that. And now if we have so many sub-appellation, and if we know so much more about each and every sub-appellation, is because Thomas have mapped that out for us in such a beautiful way that it's much easier to understand what we drink now from Niagara. And that's why Niagara is much more advanced than BC on that stand, on that point. And thank you to Thomas Bachelder for that.
Absolutely. So the way that Thomas does his releases, okay, every year in the spring, I think in around May, he releases his Gamays and his Les Villages wine. Les Villages are more like accessible price point, really fantastic wines, but he basically, anything that doesn't make it into his single vineyards or his single block wines, they get put in the Les Villages. You get a much more accessible price point and great kind of everyday wine. And then the Gamays, those are released in the spring. And then every November 1st, he does his Toussaint release. And that's like November 1st is All Saints Day, you know, Halloween, October 31st, and then All Saints Day the next day. So this is Thomas talking about his Toussaint release, the year that, you know, we took this picture that we were tasting through his stuff like kids in a candy store. Where was it? This one. Yeah, so this is what Thomas
then let's
said.
Remember, okay, we recall it was 1:30 in the morning in Niagara. And when I opened the box and put them on the table and I went to get some glasses, Mira said, are we going to start tasting tonight? I think we were traveling for 24 hours at that point. We hadn't slept the night before. And it was like a heck of a gong show. And I was like, yeah, you really think I'm going to go to bed without tasting a few of them? I think we tasted them all. We went to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah, craziness. That's why we look older now.
Yeah, exactly. For things like that, right? So tasting
Here's Thomas with just a minute or two, just so you can hear his voice. He's the timeless voice of Canadian wine here.
C'est les Pinot Noirs et les Chardot. Pourquoi? Parce que c'est ce qu'on fait. Et alors, nos saints à nous, c'est 2 années. Donc, 19 en 21, OK? Novembre, le 1er novembre. Fait que je l'ai mis en français et en anglais, je pense. Attends. Oui. Et puis là, c'est la raison d'être de la maison. Mais on a tombé amoureux de Gamay. Ça, c'est juste 16 mois. Donc, le 2 avril, c'est la fête de notre fille Violette. Et la couleur de Gamay, c'est un peu violet. Fait que ça, c'est le Gamay release en franglais. Oui, les deux. Et fait que là, à voir, une chose, tu peux m'appeler, mais regarde, les 19 sont super tendus et commencent à ouvrir. Et les 20, c'est juste les 2020, c'est les Gamay qui sont. C'est une année qui est plus riche. Puis, tiens, on met ça dans l'auto et je vous montre la cave vite fait, OK?
So now, because we're so Canadian, you have to tell us what he said. But in a nutshell, what did he say?
Well, he's just explaining that the 1st of November and that was his Le Toussaint release, but the Gamays also were released after 16 months because the process of making his Gamays are a little shorter. So that's why he doesn't release the Gamay at the same time. And he was talking about the color of the Gamay, the Violette. He called la release the Violette. It's his daughter's name. and it's also the color violet is also the color of Gamay, so that's why he calls it the violet release. Other than that, he's just mentioning that's what we said earlier, that the 2019s are a little bit more are a little bit more energetic, a little bit more that at that point a little bit more with tension, and 2020 were much richer, and he was saying also that more wine will be coming out for the 2020s and to stay up to date.
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, so there he is. And guess what? Last year, I mean, the whole reason he agreed to do this crazy thing where we rented a bus and we all went in the vineyards with Thomas and tasted in the vineyards, right, was because members actually voted Bachelder our winery of the year last year. So this was our winery of the year celebration back at the Bat Cave and in the vineyards. So pretty epic stuff.
Well, I'm still hearing from members that sometimes we talk about like the Pan Canadian and like all of the crazy stuff that we've done since 2020, and most of the members say, yeah, but you know what, Carl, I don't think nothing will ever be the day in the vineyard with Thomas Bachelder. And I mean, at that time, I think I said it live. It was probably personally the most epic day that I've ever had in our business history. I mean, it was really special. I mean, for a wine geek like I am, or like we are, it was such an incredible depth of knowledge to be boots on the ground, hands in the dirt, with the master himself, with the man who have mapped the region. And I mean, that was so unique. And I still to this day is something like I don't think we'll ever have that same kind of connection, because he led the group such in a great way from 3 different vineyards, but that we never felt rushed. We never felt that we didn't understand what was happening. I mean, he had an incredible way of explaining to everybody, and the connection was absolutely beautiful. And I mean, to stand in the Wismer Foxcroft in the Parcelle Nord, right there, and to taste, moving from the Parcelle Nord Chardonnay block to go to the Gamay block. I don't know if you remember when we walk across Wismer to go on the other side where the Chardonnay block is. I mean, it was, and when we stood between Ankh and Wismer Park, and understanding that the Wild West End was the same, like just that block next to it, that trilogy, and standing right there on the dirt road was an epic moment. And now when I taste these wines, I can't help but always taste Wild West End and Wismer Park side by side. I have to do it because to me, that's just the way it should be, because now I understand that from the Wismer Park vineyard, there's the little block of an unknown clone that he bottles on its own because it's so freaking different. And Mira, you blind tasted me on all of the Pinots. We had, 9 Pinots? And what did I do right out of the gate without tasting the wines? What did I do?
Yeah, he sniffed through them and he's like, this is the Wild West End. And he was bang on. Yeah.
I mean,
he has such a distinctive nose, right?
Yeah, because it's so distinctive. And I had the exact same reaction with the Wismer Foxcroft. Not that Wismer Foxcroft Parcelle Nord is so very distinctive. I just know because I think I know that wine so very well inside out. And yeah, on the blind taste, on the 10 or 11 Chardonnay that we had, I just like before tasting, I said, this is Wismer Foxcroft. There's no way to go.
Wismer Foxcroft has a distinctive nose and a finish, though.
Yeah, that's it. But on the nose, these two were picked only on the nose, and it was like, yeah. So I'm happy that at that stage of where we are, we start to understand Thomas's portfolio so well that we can start picking wines on the nose. I think that's a very good we're at the right place. And so that the 2023, let's talk a little bit about the wines that we have, okay? Just to repeat the scores because it's pretty absolutely insane. Let's start with.
Wait 1 sec. So we're going to go through the 3 sets of 3 that we put together for you. Of course, you can choose your own bottles, right? And there's free shipping for $1.99 or more if you're VIP 6 or more bottles, VIP Unlimited. So we'll go through each of these, but I want to interrupt the regularly scheduled programming here before we get into each of the wines, rapid fire speed dating style. I just want to mention 2 things. So one is that tomorrow night we are going old school and we're going on Zoom. And all members are welcome to join us. I'm going to send the link right after this live for the Zoom tasting. We are actually going.
You keep going for a minute. I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay.
No problem. So we're going to be going on Zoom so that members can, put their hand up, ask questions directly of a winemaker. And that winemaker is Keith Tyers from Clausen Chase, Prince Edward County. And this was just by popular demand. Jared and Lisa in Calgary said, we would love to taste the new releases from Clausen Chase. They don't have a lot of wines on their website right now because they're going to be releasing them fairly soon. And we get exclusive access to some of those wines. And we get to taste them with the winemaker tomorrow night. So some of you have already ordered the 3-pack kind of pre-release pack. So you'll be able to taste them with us. If you didn't get to order that, that's okay. You can still tune into the Zoom and learn more about the 2023 vintage in Prince Edward County. So right now on this live, we're talking about the 2023s from Thomas Bachelder. But if you like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and you haven't tried Prince Edward County Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, this opportunity tomorrow night to chat with Keith Tyers, winemaker at Clausen Chase, is just fantastic. We're really looking forward to it. I think, Mike, you're going to be stopping by, maybe Daryl too. We tasted a 20 here. I have a picture of it a little while ago. We had a 2016 of the Clausen Chase wines, and it was spectacular. So this is part of the journey, is seeing how these wines age, learning about the vintages, so being able to do that with the winemaker tomorrow night is pretty awesome. So whether or not you ordered that pack, you are welcome to stop by, and I'll send the Zoom link out to members. That's one thing. Anything you want to add about that?
Clausen Chase, yeah, we had an incredible relationship with Thomas Bachelder, but another guy that we had an amazing relationship who's been so generous of his knowledge, of his passion. It's Keith Dyer. We had the privilege to have Keith staying over at our house when he came over here in the Pan Canadian 2.0 at Astor Creek. And I love that guy. He is so passionate about what he does, about the Prince Edward County terroir, which is so distinctive, and even more like this week, because we had 10 Thomas Bachelder's Chardonnay open, and I got a box of Clausen Chase. So what I did, I opened Clausen Chase, Churchside 2023, Churchside 2022, and South Clos 2022. So 3 of his Chardonnay, put them in the middle of these Bachelder wine. And that's how I can very understand that Prince Edward County minerality, that Prince Edward County tension, the colder expression of the county and it shines so much. And when we said that Prince Edward County sometimes is the Chablis of Canada, that makes so much sense when you have Niagara from west to east with Thomas Bachelder, and you get 3 Prince Edward County wines, and you're like, oh my God, I get it now. But yeah, to spend a couple of hours with Keith on Zoom with our members tomorrow night will be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait.
Yes, super fun. And the other thing I want to mention is that Carl's just finishing up fun things for our Advent calendars. Many of you have already ordered an advent calendar where we open a different surprise wine every night, starting December 14th, I believe, all the way up to Christmas Day, just like an advent calendar, but with wine. Great reason to open a bottle and invite your neighbors over and say, hey, we're opening a surprise bottle. So anyway, we were finishing up some things and Carl said, you know what? It's sold out. But why don't we add one more case to all our orders so that there's 12 more advent calendars available if anyone wants to jump in at the last minute. So
I started to get the extra 12 arriving. This started today, so there's more wines arriving. And yeah, we have some really cool stuff in that advent calendar. So lots of wines who doesn't exist anymore. They are exclusively from the winemaker or the winery owner, wine seller. So some really cool stuff and some stuff with
yeah. This one I can tell you is a 2007. You're not going to find a 2007 very easily. We tasted through a bunch of wines a couple weeks ago, and Carl chose this one for the advent calendar. This
2007. I know that's going to be right in the box. 07. And I also have a 24, which had only 20-something cases made from 2024. We have some really, really, really cool stuff.
Very cool. And one of the things I want you to do for us, Carl, this year is at least a few days before each of the lives, I want us to get your ideas on little appies or pairings to go with.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
What the wine is, but we'll tell you if you need to put it in the fridge or not the day before. Which kind of gives you
that's
some hints.
Okay. It's a little heavier red. It's heavy on red. I mean it's December, so the pack the advent calendar box is a little heavy on red. But yeah, you will really, really, really enjoy that adventure. Incredible 12 days of discovery and meeting winemakers and winery owners. It will be absolutely fantastic.
That's funny. We only ordered the calendar. So many people at Leaning Post said that we had to get it this year. That's hilarious, Mike. Well, I'm glad you're in, and even if you're not in, you can stop by. It's a good excuse to pillage through your cellar and find, a cool Canadian wine bottle to share with us, just to tell us if how it's drinking that night. And you don't even have to open a bottle, but you can just stop by and see what the surprise is and hear about the wine chat and the winemaker interview. So it'll be lots of fun. So back to Bachelder, right? I'm going to just flash up on the screen 3 wines, and Carl Boucher, you get like 30 to 60 seconds to describe each one and tell us why it's so interesting. Do you want to start with Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Gamay?
Yeah, you said you will flash them up, so please flash them up. I'll talk about it.
All right, let's start with your number 2 highest rated wine of 2025.
There you go.
Tallies, but I think this year we definitely increased over last year's 1,500 or so wines tasted. You're probably closer to 2,000 this year. So here we have it. The middle one there is the Wismar Foxcroft Parcelle Nord Chardonnay at 96 points, one of your highest rated wines of all time. So tell us about
Yes. So, and the second time that Foxcroft Parcelle Nord got a 96 points in my rating, I also gave that to the 2019 Foxcroft Parcelle Nord. So the 2023 96 points, like I said, it stood out to me in August when I tasted with Thomas. That was the highlight of my tasting. I think the purity, the edges, the define, the tension also, but there's also a certain richness coming out of it. It's not like 23, like 19, where it was a very much colder vintage and delivering a very, very pure expression, but 2023 has a little bit more texture to it, a little bit more classic wine. And I mean, that Wismar Foxcroft, Thomas mentioned it on his nose, and we had that that conversation in August together, saying if I can trademark the smell of that wine, I would. And I mean, that's what I said. Like, I can pick that Wismer Foxcroft pretty much any vintage on the nose only. And this was my standout. So Wismer Foxcroft Personnel, 96 points. The second highest rated wine in that feature is also the Chardonnay. It's the Hill of Wingfield, which Thomas himself called is Parcelle Grand Cru of all of these bottles. That he says that if there was one Grand Cru in Canada, it will be Hill of Wingfield. I mean, texturally, you can pick that wine from a mile away as well. It's richer, it's denser. Hill of Wingfield is usually a harvest 2 to 3 weeks after all of the other wines. So very unique. There's that minerality, but the texturally and in terms of concentration, Hill of Wingfield is sensational. I give it a 95 points. That's the wine who went head to head with a Meursault at the Canada Burgundy Showdown in August at Black Bank Hill Winery. And was one of the standout of the entire tasting. So Hill of Wingfield has a little bit more, had a little bit more time to rest now. At this point, a couple more months compared to what we've tasted in August, which was just freshly bottled. So yeah, love that wine, big and powerful. The third Chardonnay was a crapshoot. I had to pick among another 8 wines, and I went with something new that I've never really pay as much attention. It was not one of my standout. Usually I go with Grimsby Hillside or more like the Baizu, which one of the standout from Niagara on the Lake. I went with Werner York. That little parcel of the 20-mile band of the Werner York, I believe, was from the not Lincoln Lake Shore. Help me out.
Tell you. Werner York. Okay, you know what? Let me just get the link. Let me get the link.
Darn it. I should be able to say that.
You wait. CarlsWine.com.
Yeah, that's the St. David's Bench. Also, like next to Laurie, Werner York stood out to me in August. And when I retasted them, I don't remember, Mira, you blind tasted me. And that's the wine that I rated 94 points on the complete blind taste. And I was like, I'm so happy. I went back to what I rated it in my book from Thomas from August, and it was the exact same score. So guess what? I'm like, okay, it's really worth it to expose that wine to our member now. Werner York, St. David's Bench, so a little bit more west. Beautiful wine, a little bit more tension in that wine. And I'm super thrilled to have that wine. So 94, 95, and 96 points for the 3 Chardonnays. So pretty darn incredible scores. I want to bring one point about the scores, Mira. These are not just me going off the rails, because when the national press released their score, Christopher Waters with the Toronto Star, also Rick Van Sickle, the most known wine journalists in Niagara. There was also Tony Aspler. They all released their score at the same time. Wine Line has already released a few of them as well. Everyone's are between 94 and 97 points on these wines. I believe that Hill of Wingfield, I think it's Wine Line. No, I think it's Christopher Waters who gave 97 points to Hill of Wingfield on that one. So, funny enough, Rick Van Sickle and I are not on the same page on the Wismer Foxcroft. And I looked at his previous rating on the Wismer Foxcroft Personnel. It's always a little lower than Hill of Wingfield and the other big dogs, and I'm always a little higher. So you prefer Hill of Wingfield. I prefer Wismer Foxcroft. Not saying that he's wrong. We just have a little difference of preference. Let's put it that way. Rick gave Wismer Foxcroft, I believe, 94, and Hill of Wingfield 95. I went 96 for Foxcroft and 95 for Hill of Wingfield. But the national press went bonkers and absolutely bananas on all of these scores. Some of them I'm lower than than some of the other journalists, but.
And and that's the thing is you got to taste them for a couple months before most people did, and your scores are crazily consistent. So
well, that's the thing with I had the privilege to taste them before everybody, and now I retaste them a couple months later. And there's few wines where I made a not a major but a noticeable improvement. With 2.5 more months of in bottle, so some wines have settled down. And I mean, Thomas warned me when I was there in August. Hey, like we read that was a projection game at that point, right? But incredible for the knowledge. Yeah, if you want to taste alongside Mira, I have it's a code game that I gave you there. If you want to know which one is which. There's some letters on the. There's one.
Hill of Wingfield.
Yeah, exactly. You have Wismer Foxcroft. The bottle is completely empty. Sorry, surprisingly, that's the wine who's completely empty. I will lie to you. A couple nights ago, you went to bed early, and I came back from hockey, and I sat in front of the fireplace, and I dissect for half an hour only with Wismer Foxcroft. I had a date with Wismer Foxcroft that night when you were in bed. So sorry, I had to publicly announce it.
At 96 points, I mean, I don't know why the heck I went to bed early, but
All
right. That's the beautiful Chardonnays that we love. And then there's the Pinot Noirs. Also incredible. So tell us about the Pinot Noirs, Carl.
So I went with the Old Eastern Bloc, Wismer Park, and Wild West End. So no surprise, like the Werner York in the Chardonnay pack. I went with 3 of my absolute favorite and the 3 highest score right there. I mean, the Old Eastern Bloc from Laurie Vineyard. Year in and year out, it's always a standout because it's very different. You look at the color, you can pick Old Eastern Bloc by the color. Like some of the, like Wild West End, you can pick it from the nose. Old Eastern Bloc, you can pick it from the collar. Elegance, there's that very classic floral note, a hint of herbaceous, but very little. But there's beautiful notes of Pinot Noir, and I always have Elia Senchuk's Pinot-esque, or the terminology that he likes to throw out, like how does he say that again? I always missed it. Anyway, so it's very Pinot, very classic Pinot, pure. There's a purity in that Old Eastern Bloc. I mean, vines from 1984, planted by Carl Kaiser, the founder in Inniskillen, one of the founder of Niagara Wine. I mean, this wine has so much purity, and in 2023, that's exactly what I got, and I couldn't help myself. That was my standout in August, my standout a couple weeks ago, and it's a 95 points. I think we had Christopher Water giving it the 96 points, or Rick Vansickle the 96 points. These guys went higher than me on that one. So yeah, so that's from the Old Eastern Bloc, the very pure and classic wine from Niagara, from the St. David's Bench. The other two, that's where we stood at our day with Thomas, right on the dirt on the dirt path between Enck and Wismar Park. So it's Wismar Park Vineyard, and it's also the Wild West End block. The Wild West End needs a little bit of time. I mean, I saw it the third day that it was open, really starting to explode in terms of this wildness, in terms of the irony component of that very specific vineyard, that little like bloody, like I don't know, I don't like mentioning like the bloody cut, but like that irony taste that comes back on the back end of that wine that make it so specific, floral, but now herbaceousness a little bit more, and the spice on the back end, the clove, the length of it, the complexity, the length. So these two go hand to hand, and also to see like the difference how Wild West End, which is from an unknown clone from that specific block, just provide a little bit more wildness and crazy spikes of aromas that you don't expect. Violet, I would say probably like Mediterranean herbs and beautiful ripe fruit as well. Incredible profile.
And we added to our tasting notes some of Thomas's notes and Mary's very short note that she likes to put. She calls this one, I think, her little vampire. And that's like those kind of sanguine notes that you mentioned. And it kind of makes sense too, because the soil on those specific rows in the Wild West End is a different color, actually.
It's red. It's like a red dirt. I mean, like when you guys were the people who were there with us, you can like notice that it was like red dirt.
Yeah.
So we have for the Pinot pack 95, 94 plus, and 94 for these three. So 2 from the 20 Mile Bench, Wild West End, and Wismar Park. Again, disclosure: the Wild West End is the one block at the end of west end of the Wismar Park Vineyard, and completely different. Can I say completely different? They're from, like, you can tell, like, there's some connection across the profile, but there's something unique about that very specific block, and it makes it a very standout wine. So that's our 3 Pinot Noir. Again, the national press went crazy on scores on these wines too. I think, Mira, you have them maybe in front of you to compare to our score, but
yeah, some of them like that we could find right off the bat, they're in our tasting notes. So it's something to, if you go to this link I'm going to put in here, when you scroll down, you see the wine, you can click on the picture of the wine. It takes you to like more details about that wine on our site, but it gives you like pairing suggestions and also if we found other scores and stuff like that. So just lots of info for you. So,
and that's funny that you mentioned it earlier, that I think I do tasting notes for these Thomas Bachelder wine very differently than I do with others sometimes. I mean, I think I sit in front of these wines for hours and hours and
it's
think
really a nerdy exercise. I mean, it always is, but especially with the Bachelders. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's almost spiritual for Carl.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just nailed it here. I think it's spiritual. Yeah, something like that. I really like it. Really, really like it. Okay, so that's for the 3 Pinots. And the other set is the 3 Gamays, which we did something fun that I used the 2 Wismar Foxcroft Gamay. Thomas does something a little different with that release. With Wismar Foxcroft, there's 2 wines from the same vineyard. He doesn't choose different parcel of the vineyard like he does usually for the others. What he does with the Gamays, he do 2 different winemaking technique. So he has the Wismar Foxcroft 32% whole cluster press, and he has the Wismar Foxcroft 100% D-stem. So this is not about this this parcel versus this parcel to see how different they are, like Wismar Park and Wild West. And no, he just so one of these wine, he will take 32% is whole cluster. So he leaves the grapes on the stems and press everything together on the 100% D stem. Obviously, he takes the grapes off the stems and just press the berries, which gives you two completely different wines, two different profiles. And especially on the texture and fruit component. The D stem is much fruitier, easy drinking, more elegant, and you get to the 32% old cluster press that the wine is a little wilder. The wine has more tannin. The wine is more structured. The wine is more spicy. And yeah, like it makes it like completely different. It's so amazing. That side by side is so much fun. Same vineyard, same oak treatment, same date of picking. It's just a bin without steaming the grape, and the other one throwing some old cluster in. So really, really cool to experience. The other wine is the Bachelder, and rest in peace, Bachelder. I mean, I think it's the last year that Thomas has access to the fruit, and it's going to be the last 2023. It's the last year of Bachelder.
They had a rough 2022 vintage, I believe, with like cold issues, and they actually pulled the vines after the 2023 vintage. So that's the last of the Bachelder.
I think there was only 72 cases made of that wine, so very, very little quantity. I beg to have a few. So, and it's elegance, beautiful. This is Beaujolais to me. That's just so well done. Very classic Gamay flavors, but all in elegance and the fruitiness. So I really, really enjoy that. So Mira, you have our score. I think we're at 92 plus for Bachelder and 93 and 94 for the two Wismar Foxcroft, which the 32% whole cluster press, I gave it a 94. This is my highest rated Gamay ever. I mean, when you're a geek and you got that level of layers, that level, I love, that's what I mentioned from the get-go. This is so structured. Like, I mean, this wine, this Gamay will last for a long time. And and the D stem is a little bit more elegant. It's more ready to drink now. Very, very, very different and super fun to taste.
Abso-freaking-lutely. So last but not least, speed dating these guys, Carl Boucher. Tell me more about Les Villages.
That's the value proposition. Thomas loves to please. Thomas the pleaser. That's who he is. Deep inside, he's a pleaser. He loves pleasing everyone. He loves making wine of perfection, but he also likes to have wine available for all different type of budget. And Les Villages, with his background of Burgundy, you always have the Village wine. The wine is a little bit more affordable that people can bring for a day meal, like a Tuesday night little cheese platter. And that's the purpose of Les Gamay, Les Villages. So Les Villages for Gamay, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. Two of them. So Pinot and Chardonnay are exclusively from its parcel from the bench. There's no Niagara on the lake fruits for Pinot Noir Village and Chardonnay Village, all from bench parcel. So that's the barrel who didn't make it to Hill of Wingfield, to Wismar Foxcroft, to Spencer, to Ivy, like all of these single vineyard parcel. He takes the one who are very classic. If some of the barrels are a little bit, the level of oak is a little too high, or there's a little something that he doesn't want to focus on on purity and very let's speak the vineyard, he will put these barrels into Le Village and declassifying these barrels to make the Niagara Bench Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. For me, this year, I think the Pinot Noir is my highest rated of the three Village. I give 92 points to the Pinot. I give 91 plus to the Chardonnay and 91 to the Gamay.
And I think the price points are what, $26, $27, $25 to $35 somewhere.
So
in there.
$35 for Chardonnay and Pinot, and $25 for Gamay. So an incredible level of quality for a $25 Gamay or a $35 Pinot. These days now, when you look at high-end Pinots, you can't find a $35 Pinot. So Thomas has the commitment of providing
26, not 25 for the Gamay.
26. Yeah, there's $9 difference. You're right. Absolutely. So yeah, so that is Les Villages, and so we made the 3-pack of Les Villages available. So now you can build your own case. You can go by 3 packs. There's many different ways to go about it, but I'll tell you one thing: 2023 is an incredible release from Thomas Bachelder. I feel privileged to have the chance to taste them and now to offer them to some of the most amazing wines in the country.
Absolutely. So before we go, because you've got to run, because you are a baseball coach, hockey coach, all kinds of things. You got a baseball meeting to go to. But before we run, tell us why Thomas Bachelder is making less wines going forward and what that means for us.
So Thomas came to a conclusion that now he has done his work of mapping Niagara. He has worked since 2008 with many, many different growers. He has established some of his key parcels, and moving forward, he will work with lesser amount of single vineyard and focusing on improving even more the parcel that he truly believes that it's his gem. That doesn't mean that the other ones are not. Some of the fruit are not available anymore. Some of the quantities that he have access to are shrinking. So he's just now, he went from dedicated his craft to the general terroir. Now he was gonna dedicate his craft to perfecting that what he thinks it's the Grand Cru of Niagara.
And this Grand Cru of Niagara, it's hard to see on these pictures, but it's at the top of his labels now. Niagara Grand Cru of Niagara. That's a newer thing. And I think because he's studied now for well over a decade, over 15 years, all these sites, and he's been bottling single vineyards and single blocks for so long, year after year, to understand each vineyard. Now he has, sort of the confidence to say, no, if there's a Grand Cru for Niagara, this is it.
Yeah, and I know that the quantity, the fruit that he has access, it's not going to fluctuate year in and year out, and so there's a certainty of where he's going, and it's also he's going with his heart and his belief, and so
there's two sides of it, and we'll probably hear more from Thomas himself about it and which wines are going to continue and which wines might be the last in 2023. So we don't know. He hasn't told us, and he hasn't announced that to anybody. I sure hope that these ones that we've selected that have been year in, year out favorites, I sure hope they stay.
I can tell you that Wismer Foxcroft is staying. That I can tell you, he confirmed to me. That was my main concern. So this is our incredible 2023 Bachelder release. I've been waiting for a while for that. I'm still sipping on those bottles. It's 6 days after, and I keep dissecting them.
Better, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some Pinots left. I think now we're at the very end of the Chardonnays. This is done with the Chardots. But yeah, so don't miss out. There's some of them are like, so it's just a limited quantity. It's going to be gone. And if you have any special requests, let us know. And I'm planning to do a little Zoom tasting with Thomas in the New Year's as well, just like what we're doing with Keith tomorrow. So yeah, next week, Clos du Soleil from the Similkameen Valley, one of the standouts of the One Drop Foundation tasting.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit around Burgundian wines in the last few months. I know that your cellars are bursting, and so we're heading south. We're going very deep winter. We're seeing snow on the ground. So I think we're going to see some more of those bigger, bolder reds from the Similkameen, aren't we?
Yeah, that's going to be an absolute blast. I have some back vintage. I have some pretty cool stuff coming up. So we're starting the tasting of the Clos du Soleil in the next couple of days. And but until Sunday night, you have access to Thomas Bachelder, the very best in the country, a world-class winemakers who no one can make Chardonnays and Pinots like him. We have some of his very best wines, some of the very best Canadian wines available out here. Very rare, very small quantities. So enjoy, Canadian wine lovers.
Cheers, Canadian wine lovers. You have a great Wine Wednesday. And we'll see some of you on the Zoom tomorrow night with Keith Tyers from Prince Edward County. Cheers.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members. See you tomorrow.